I have nothing prepared. I'm totally winging it here. So it's just a conversation, a one-on-one with you guys, and that's what, like, I want you guys to have a conversation back. That's what today's about. I've been on the NDIS since it rolled out. I was pretty much one of the first people to do it. And I choose to actually self-manage my NDIS plan, and I have from the start. And this has enabled me to do so much within my NDIS budget. My very first NDIS plan was quite limited. I was very, very limited in my social support, but being able to self-manage meant I could use some of my support from daily activities, and it actually meant that I was able to go out into the community a whole lot more. And since doing that, I have started working with Julie and another one of our colleagues who also has a disability. And we now go around and we tell people about the NDIS and how it can help people. And we just want to empower people with disabilities in general. You were saying before that setting high goals, and I think that is incredibly important. So many people with disabilities have just been so limited throughout their lives. They've been told what they can't do. Now we can actually say, no, we can do this. We just need the support to do it. And everyone with a disability should set that goal. Like, just keep pushing yourself harder and harder. And the more we do it, the more people around us in the community can see, oh wow, we're actually like viable people in the community. We have something to offer. And we just have to keep moving on that momentum by able to change people's attitudes. We are all capable, we have different abilities, and we have so much to offer. And I think the NDIS has been a great way to help us do the things that we need to do. So does anybody want to know anything more about how I do it, or should we go over to Julie?
We'll do questions after.
All right, no worries.
Okay, so I'm Julie, and I received my first NDIS plan in November 2012. And so I'm going on, 2016.
I was going to say, wow.
I'm sorry about that. So I have just recently received I'm going on to my third year of the plan. This is my fourth plan though. So I have had my challenges with the NDIS, but I can say that, after really going through it and really understanding the processes and what's needed to make things work and who you can get support from, it's really been liberating for me to be able to get the supports that I actually need and choose how it works best for myself. So I actually was agency managed for about 2 years, and I recently switched to self-managed as well, and I can say that it's been absolutely really empowering to be able to make those decisions myself. From coming with no supports previously in my life or in my family's life as well, it's really changed, and I've been able to take up a lot more opportunities that I haven't thought I would have or really wanted to before, and also making the decisions to actually speak up for myself as an adult. Earlier when they talked about that transition where it's more about the ownership of your own disability and speaking up for what you need, it's challenged me to do that and bring me out of my shell a lot more as well. Yeah, so it's been a good journey after ups and downs that I'm sure everybody has with the NDIS.
We want to acknowledge we have all had the ups and downs. Everyone has, but I think there's usually more ups than there are downs overall.
I think you make great speakers. You're going to be good advocates for the community, for the disabled.
Thank you.
Congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
So we're happy to answer any questions about our journeys with having an NDIS plan, what supports we have. Yeah.
Can I just ask what type of opportunities you've been able to access through the NDIS that you weren't able to prior to it?
I think for me, it's a lot more about community access. I always got my physiological needs met in previous models. So I was able to have showers every day, get out of bed, all of that stuff. But I'd have to rely on my family to go out or friends, and it's just so difficult. You don't want to ask people to go to the bar and to do those things that adults should be doing. But under the NDIS, we can do that. Like, we are normal adults that want to date. We want to go out and we want to see our friends and we want to get pissed and we want to do those things. We do. We're allowed to make those decisions that every other person can. And I don't have to ask permission from a friend or family member. I can get a support worker to do that. And it enables you to have a better relationship with your informal supports when you're not relying on them. You're not having to ask permission. Like, my mum can be my mum. I can have a fight with my mum and she doesn't have to turn me at night. Like, it's that dynamic between family members when you can have your personal care, all of your care separate. You can have a better dynamic. And with your friends, when you're out with your friends and having to ask them to toilet you, it's so demoralising. But when you've got a support worker, your friends can be your friends. So, yeah.
And for myself, opportunities such as, actually, when I do work with Christy and our other colleague, George, I can go out all day and I don't have to, pick easy things to eat because I can have the support there, and I'm able to go out without, like, my mum needing to come with me in the morning. It's meeting me later at lunch, and then, she gets to have her life and I get to have mine. As well as I think the whole NDIS is allowing a lot more people with disabilities to get out there in the community. So I've actually met a lot more people with disabilities that I never really cared or thought to hang out with them. But, I think what's happened now is that you'll actually see there's a lot of peer groups popping up. MD is also running a few different peer events as well. So I'm meeting different people and I'm seeing how they do things, and it's just opportunities to connect with other people that I wouldn't have, and also, share each other's journeys and knowledge, and also a lot of opportunities to educate. For example, we do a lot of work with LACs as well, so educating LACs, educating the wider community about, the value that people with disabilities can bring. Yeah.
And yeah, I can totally say peers are probably where I've learnt most of my information from. We started a peer group, how long ago was that? May, last year. And these guys have taught me so much. And other peers that I've met just throughout networking have just been a wealth of information. So if you've got the opportunity to meet up and talk with other people about how the NDIS is helping them, how did they get it to work for them, how did you word your goals, they are such a great free resource. And MD New South Wales are putting together that community network and use them. It's such a great resource.
How do you ladies go about getting a care worker that's right for you and right for the needs that you require?
Well, as I said, I directly, I have self-managed my funds, so I choose to actually directly hire my carers. So I don't have to go through a middleman. I do everything myself, and having that relationship with your care worker that you are the boss, it's empowering. But they respect you as well. Instead of having to go through a service provider and then just getting assigned the care worker that they have available, I chose to cut that middleman out and do it myself, and I've had so much more success by doing it that way. So.
How did you advertise?
I advertise. I'm actually very creative when I advertise. I'm going through the recruitment at the moment. I have to get a new care worker. I did have one. She didn't work out, so it doesn't always work. It's not about that. I use a variety. I use like a sort of four-pronged approach. I always use my local paper because I live in the Hawkesbury and there's not a lot of people in the digital age out there. They still like the newspapers and stuff. I have used Gumtree, Facebook, and another thing that I do to be creative is I go around to the universities and I post little flyers on the nursing and occupational therapy school area because they need extra work, and they're usually like younger. They want to go and do the things I want to do. There's some great online platforms coming out such as Hire Up. and they're really good at connecting people with the same needs as well. So just be creative. You don't always have to use a paid, but yeah, just go everywhere.
Getting a serial killer about
I'm fairly, how do you want to do it? I'm new to
Yeah.
NDIS. We're on our first plan, and we're concerned that we've been told that if you don't spend the money in a particular category, you won't be given to you next year. But the point is, he's going to deteriorate and need more. Plus, we haven't learned how to spend the money effectively because we're still negotiating higher up and other things. So, and an example, the transport allowance, we haven't got because they said we need your bank account. He sent the bank account. That's been with them for 3 months, and the money still hasn't come through. So how can we
follow
spend?
that up because that should come through.
How can we spend money that we haven't been given?
Yeah, I'd definitely follow that up because within my process, I just gave it and it came straight away.
This thing about how true is it that if you don't spend the money in a category this year, it's not going to be allotted next year, for example?
From personal experience, not very. Because if you can justify why you haven't spent it, and it's very good terms that you're negotiating your new services and all of that, it is your first plan, you just have to say why you haven't spent it. And you also have to be very firm that this is a degenerative disease. Supports that I need in 1 year, maybe more the next year. It's really important to state that it is degenerative and yeah, your needs will increase over time. It's very different to most disabilities, neuromuscular disorders.
And that's where it's important to get the reports from your OTs to back up, how many hours you actually need. So getting your OT physios to really to write up letters of documentation.
Can you, how easy is it to shift from one category to another where, as you find out, you need...
It depends what sort of management style you're using, whether you're agency managed or if you are self-managed.
Agency managed.
Okay.
Or plan manager.
Yeah. Probably next plan, elect for plan management or self-management if you can. That's my greatest gift because you have a lot more flexibility. You have got within your core, which is what most supports other than equipment will be, you have that flexibility to move between categories. So, yeah.
Can I just add something to there with taking a support person to your review meeting to explain just what Katie was saying. Christy, sorry, I can't read with my glasses. But I'd say that taking one of the Joan or Ganesh hopefully might be able to help you with advice on that as well.
With the greatest of respect, I'm having difficulty with your positive approach to the NDIS.
This is him.
Because we are part of I think the last time I heard the count was the 25 or 30,000 people with disability who haven't had a positive experience with the bastards at the NDIA, who seem to be incapable of telling the truth, who seem to be shambolic and couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery. So what did we do wrong to lose the lottery?
Can I just say, I'm sorry you've had a negative experience. And we have all had some negatives. We said that before. We don't all have positives. But maybe, there are so many positives that are coming out. You may not be able to see it, but there are people that had no supports at all previous to this, and they are actually getting the supports they needed for the first time in their life. So,
I accept that. That's a given. But I mean, our son is worse off at the moment under this system than he was. And I've been fighting now for 3 years with little or no success.
I can just say maybe
And
keep fighting.
I came along today on the understanding that there were going to be planners from the NDIA here who were going to be answering questions.
I don't know.
You're obviously not planners.
No, we're not planners. Me and Julie are just participants.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
That was last year.
No, I was here last week.
But we can get someone for next year.
I think it's about breaking it up into the components that have been frustrating and trying to work, prioritise the ones that might make the biggest, because you can't fight all the battles at once. I sit in a very different place to everyone else really, and I see people sometimes get bogged down in trying to fight every battle rather than saying, okay, this is the one that's going to make the biggest difference to my life, and I'm going to focus on that and focus on some of these things that might be positive, and also trying to let go. For me, this has been really hard. Let go of the previous system and the way it worked completely and reset, because otherwise we're always trying to fit square pegs in round holes. So, that's just from where I sit.
That doesn't gel with what we've been hearing, because what we've been hearing is that the system is supposed to be there to help David develop and to reach his potential and whatever other words we used, and it's got nothing to do with the previous system in that he is now worse off than he was. And
Maybe we should put David in contact with these guys to troubleshoot.
I mean,
Dear, take a lot of your time.
you should know from your experience of David that is not going to happen.
So I think, I'm not representing the NDIA.
No, I
think
understand that.
it's a question that's important.
That's part of my problem.
It's important.
Nobody here is representing the NDIA.
Yes, I really feel for you, because it's a story I hear often at work in health. But I'd say that the best thing to do is just keep going. And the thing is, as Christy said, to keep looking at the people around you that can help you, because there are people that have clearly that are able to help you, and they're probably in this room. So I think we have to go on to another question, because otherwise we might be here for a while. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yes.
Sorry, it's one of the...
Here you go.
Mine's probably a quick one. Probably not be able to answer this one. I know Christy and Julie can't answer this, they're too young, but does the NDIS go with you all through your life? Because when you're 65, you go into the My Aged Care. I just wondered if it does, stay with you, because we've got a daughter that's under the NDIS, so it's in her interest I'm asking this question.
Yeah, so if you're receiving the NDIS before 65 and you go over, you can have the option to choose whether you want to go with My Aged Care or NDIS, stay with the NDIS.
The pros and the cons of both.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a quick question, girls, because, like Cassie's your age. So I was probably missed the first part, but you both still live at home?
I do. Christy's looking to
I am
move
looking
out.
to move out. It's a massive
Yeah.
journey.
So that transition and having support 24/7 while you're still living at home,
Yeah.
did you find that hard to qualify?
I don't even know if I have qualified. I'm literally going through my plan review, and that is my goal, is to live independently.
Yes.
I know that it will be challenging to get that, because I would prefer not to be in a, let's
Yeah.
call it, group home situation. I
Yes.
want to live by myself,
Yes.
potentially with one roommate or so. I don't need 24-hour care, but I probably need 16 hours of care a day to be able to do that.
And
So
have you been getting that?
I don't get that now. I don't get that now because my parents do my overnight care.
Okay. Just saying we do, but anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm even aiming, because that's Cassie's goal, like
Yeah.
to transition to 24/7.
Yes.
So that's our process now. But right now she gets like overnights, like a lot of overnights.
Yeah, well, I only get overnights where my parents cannot
Go away,
do overnights. And if, like, my parents get a break a couple of nights a week as well. So the NDIS have acknowledged that my overnight care is very high need.
Protecting the informal support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sustainable relationships, I believe that is.
That's right.
So, and just to answer this fella guy, Paul, having a really good coordination of support, a case manager. I do self-managed, but I still put my plan together, put all my goals, put everything that I want with a money value to it, saying this is the hours, this is what it's going to cost me to go to them. Don't expect them to know. But I also have a cause that will sit there and go, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? You need to word this like this. And that's how you get what you want.
Yeah, it's all about the way you word everything.
Language, getting that language right.
And for example, I can't tell you the number of people who come in and say that they've put the muscular dystrophy plan on their camp and it's been rejected. And then the next person comes in and says, we put the camp on our plan and it was accepted.
Yeah.
How can that be?
It's so, we're finding that too. Some people are getting cough assist approved where other people aren't.
So are you guys in a position to be feeding this back? I mean, they need some broad...
I'm trying to get my postgrad in the NDIA, so fingers crossed. Yeah.
You know, in Newcastle, we ran a carers forum up there last week to feed back to the NDIA, put up all the problems and then how they can solve. Don't just tell them the problems because they don't know how to fix it. Tell them how we want them to fix it. And that's getting fed back to the powers to be as a community carers group. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
There's something more you can do.
I've got the microphone, Bob, so I'm going to ask my question.
Rather than wasting time talking to the NDIA, talk to the politicians who created this problem in the first place.
The specialist assessor teams that I was just flashed up on the board before, that's a new initiative that's coming up as well, and that may help with some of those issues because we've found as OTs and physios and speeches that we have in the past with Enable, for example, we actually had what we call OT advisors, and they don't have those in the NDIA at the moment, but they will. And that will help. I think that'll make the process.
We have Carolyn over there.
This is for Julie and Christy and Helena, if you want to answer as well. Could you guys give us 3 tips, really key tips that we should know about getting the best out of our NDIS? And secondly, can you tell people about what a light touch review might be? I know I give you a challenge.
Okay, who's going?
Okay. I was going to cover something kind of similar, like you said there have been downs. What were the biggest downs and how did you, I mean, it kind of similar.
Yeah.
How did you overcome those?
So you can think about the tips and I'll share. So during my first plan, I had like a really good plan, and then I needed to request some equipment, which meant my plan went under a review, a whole new different review. The whole plan got looked at, and I got 50% less in my budget. So a 50%.
Did you get a plan review, or did you have to wait until your year was up, or did you actually get
No, so it was only about 3 months, and then I asked for the equipment. So I only had it for about 3 months, put in a review. That's when I actually reached out to advocates. There are advocates who take on NDIS cases, and that person came from a legal background, so he knew how to tackle it from a legislative point of view, which really helped me understand and how to word my letter, how to really know to use the law against them, you know. So I was really able to formulate an argument based on what they were claiming that this whole act is about. And then, you know, into providing supporting evidence from doctors, from physios, from OTs, multiple OT reports from different practitioners who supported what I needed and asked for. And it actually wouldn't have been without the support of my peers as well, because I was like, you know, I should just let it go. I can make do. But no, everybody really encouraged me to keep going forward. Because they really understood and they said, no, we know that you actually need this. Because, you might be talking to someone else and they're like, well, that's a really big sum of money. Can't you just, not knowing how much things cost, not knowing, how much service providers are taking. And at that time, I didn't know anything about the NDIS. So, I had 3 months to put that in. And then, just keeping in contact with the advocate from the legal background and seeing and pushing and having really good support from LACs or their team leaders, keeping in contact with them, constant calling the NDIS to push them. Like every day I called them. Every day they escalated the situation. So I really know the frustration. And then I find out that even in my whole system, they put down the wrong disability as well.
Spinal muscular autism. Spinal muscular Asperger's.
Spinal muscular Asperger's or something like that. That was just another piece of evidence to use against them. That ineptitude. Yeah. So for me, it was a really long, hard, stressful battle. I really understand it, but it just getting the right support from however many people you can reach out to really does help. And then. I actually did get a letter that says, we're actually not going to even look at your review after all that. Then I go back to my advocate and he's like, looking at the legal framework, he's like, technically they were supposed to give you a reply within 28 days. So it's like, we can use that because they gave you a reply months later. So again, using their word against them, eventually the whole thing went my way. And
Please go away.
Yeah. So if you just keep bugging them, and I know a lot of people have had success with going to their local member of parliament and getting them on board, they threaten the NDIA, essentially. So you really have to know the channels to go through.
Sorry, would say your advocate, are they dealing with, government employees or are they dealing with lawyers?
So advocates can come from a social work background or law background.
But that's your advocate?
He was a lawyer in practice.
But we'll say at the NDIA, was he dealing with their lawyers?
He was actually only advising me on what to do.
Okay.
So, and he could help help me with the letters or help me put in the application.
All right. So when you were getting a response from NDIA, that was coming from
a planner.
From a planner, not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'll try and answer Carolyn's question. I'd say probably one of my top tips is educate yourself about the terminology that you need, what is reasonable and necessary, and just understanding how the NDIS works. If you've got that knowledge, you've got the power to go to your LAC and ask for the things you want. My second tip would be try and self-manage. If you're not there yet, maybe plan manage, but work towards it, because ultimately that means you are a consumer. You've got that bargaining power. You can directly hire at a lower cost than a service provider if you choose to, or you're just like a consumer. It's like going to a mechanic and being able to ask for a good price. You've got that option. They don't have to know you're on an NDIS plan. It's just as if you are paying for it. So, as I said, if you're not there, try and transition through plan management to get there, and just in that transition learn as much as you can. So education. And a third tip is connect with your peers. They are your best source of information. They really are. And I have no idea how to answer your soft touch question.
So the light touch review is a review you can get the LAC to put in if you're wanting to do a change of management of the plan, as well as minor other changes, not essentially looking at the whole, you might need more money or anything. It's just making smaller changes to the details of your plan. So that won't mean that your whole plan gets looked after. And I guess one tip that I have, I know a lot of people struggle, maybe they might have minimal budgets in capacity building, such as for physios, and one thing I've gotten around that is to really get your support workers trained in doing that type of stuff. So I once had my physio come out and demonstrate to my team, and my OT come out to demonstrate when I had an intake of new carers, to come and learn the way that they would do it for me. Yeah. So I get them trained up, so I don't have to spend, if your agency managed $175 every time to see a physio, I can pay my support worker instead to do that. And that's, being creative about the budget, seeing where you can make little changes. Yeah, get better value.
And that's where self-management again comes into play. You can be creative like that.
And the other thing Sharon mentioned was to put down how many hours and the dollar amount assigned to that. Because I know when you do self-manage, you might tend to pay less because you have that flexibility. But according to the NDIA, if you use their price guide and the amount of hours, then they should fund based on that, and that should give you...
Never give them how much money you spent, say how many hours you used. Yeah.
And I put the dollar value
out
of their price guide. Then gives you a bucket.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just another little tip, if I can just add.
Yeah.
Our daughter self-manages. However, she might have had a manager at this time. She put in for an electric wheelchair. She got the motor approved, but not the chair. So the motor, but she persevered and actually took them on, and she had to wait 5 months, but because the chair had to be made. So, it's just
I'm finding a lot of struggles with equipment too. I've been on 18 months waiting for equipment to get approved.
the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Oh, I have tried. I'm not quite as persistent as Julie, but it is very difficult with equipment at the moment. That's my biggest struggle. I've got pressure sores and still waiting for new seating, so yeah.
Can I just, on that, Christy, there might be some scope for hiring equipment of certain types, not every type, not highly specialised things necessarily, but there might be scope in your plan for higher costs if you're stuck. So again, communicate, keep pressurising, don't give up, don't stop. Ask until you get to the person. Is that...
Yeah, absolutely. And also have a good relationship with your LAC. Talk to them. They're very good.
Hello, I'm going to ask the silly question first. What's an LAC?
Local area coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Love a good acronym. Second question is around, I'm really interested in how you're managing your team. And if it's not, so we've just started using Hire Up, which is fabulous, but they pay the insurance and the tax and da-da-da-da. So if you're hiring outside of that, how do you do that?
Okay, so this is probably like for more people that are more advanced in their NDIS journey. I personally do it this way because I've been doing it this way back in the ADAC days. So essentially, I am the employee. So I, by law, am a business. I have my own ABN and I have to pay all of my tax and super for all of my support workers directly. So yes, it sounds like it's a lot of work. It essentially takes me half an hour a fortnight. So once you've got the systems in place, it's not as difficult as you think. So it's just about educating yourself, and if you are considering that, there may be some room in your capacity building to build up your skills to get to that point as well.
There's also the option that you can have an accountant or a bookkeeper to manage that for you, even if you did want to directly employ. I don't directly employ, but one of my higher up girls actually has her own ABN, so I've transferred her to as a contractor. So she then looks after her own super and taxes and insurance. So I can pay her more, but still also pay less than what I do on Hire Up. So it really works out.
Not a question, but an answer. Somebody was asking about light touch before. Light touch is a method adopted by the NDIA to try to deal with the backlog of people dissatisfied, waiting for unscheduled reviews of their plan. It's summarised in the report done by the Commonwealth Ombudsman. Under the legislation, every time a plan is reviewed, the plan is supposed to be reviewed in totality. This light touch that they've adopted means that in certain circumstances where there are obvious mistakes or something like that, they can go into the plan and just fix that part of the plan without doing a total review of the plan. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to say a huge thank you to these three for fielding everybody's questions. Thank all of our speakers for what I think has been a fantastic day. And a huge thank you to the team at NDIS, particularly Marilyn, who's cracked the whip of me. You going, Chrissy? For organising what's been a fantastic day. Really, really